resist.
You don't see me. Okay.
We can call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. Meeting was posted. I guess I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the previous minutes unless somebody has an objection. I'd like to hear a second.
I'll do a second.
Thank you. Daniel,
Yes.
was that Arnold?
Arnold.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody okay with waiving the reading?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we can move right on to the first item on the agenda, which I believe is, according to Mark, David's update on the flood. David, you want to talk to the people about what's going on and bring everybody up to speed?
Well, the most recent thing is we are actually I finagled the adjuster to stop by tomorrow for a preliminary visualization so they can actually get the advance monies flowing. The formal adjuster's appointment is the 16th of October. Apparently flood adjusters are different than hazard adjusters, and there aren't a lot of them. And that's the best we could do for the formal. But I kind of whined and begged and pleaded with him. I'm like, hey, if you're going to be anywhere near here, it would be nice. So last minute type of thing, they're going to show up tomorrow at I don't know, 3:30 or 4 o'clock. I've been told that Mark is in town, and I think Daniel is also going to be in town. So I'll be there. Right Way is going to be there and go through the thing so he can actually get the advance monies. I've heard different numbers, but I've heard $7,500 a unit or $10,000 a unit. Don't know what we're going to get, but that level of advance is going to help us along. For those of you who, I don't know what all you know and what you don't know, we're in the process of working through the remediation. Many of the units, if not all of the units, have had their lower 4 feet of drywall removed, cleaned up as best they can. All we're contracted with Right Way right now is the remediation portion. I kind of want to hold their feet. I didn't want to sign I shouldn't say I. When I say I in these type of meetings, I'm speaking on behalf of your board of directors. So forgive me if I have a slip, but I and the board did not want to execute a construction contract in the blind on one of these type of deals. It's very possible that Right Way will be doing the reconstruction as well, but that would be a separate contract. They're under contract for the remediation, which is what they've been doing out there. Many of you have seen what they've been doing. I've heard good things, so I hope everybody's at least marginally happy with it. Nobody can be happy with this situation. Our deductibles are $5,000 per unit, or excuse me, for building. So we have a $10,000 deductible. I think Rob's already given me permission to go ahead and pay that to Right Way. Their bill is going to be well in excess of $10,000. We do have money in the operating account to cover that. It's a good faith because they're doing a lot of work uncompensated at this point. And that's all they're really asking us for is the part that we're going to have to pay no matter what. So keeping them moving and keeping them grooving until we actually start to get insurance money is important at this point.
Yes. Yes.
We don't want them to, I've been through this with Hurricane Ian, not so much for you guys, but for some of my other major damaged folks. And they can slow work, they can stop work if they don't feel like they're, dealing in good faith. I'm dealing in good faith with them. Your board is dealing with them in good faith. And so that's something that's probably going to happen the early part of next week is that I'm going to cut them a check for $10,000. Let's see what else is going on. We're not to the point where we can talk about a reconstruction timeline. We don't know how much money we're getting. We haven't seen the estimate. We haven't seen the, we don't have a proposal yet for the reconstruction. So me estimating this, I've been through it a number of times with other associations. It's probably going to be at least 6 months before those things are done. It's probably going to be longer. I mean, if you want to be conservative, 9 to 12 months may be what we're looking at before you're all back together. Because we were so, the nice thing is we're not going to be seeing a huge labor shortage because the damage in Punta Gorda was localized pretty much to downtown Punta Gorda, which means there are contractors aplenty. There wasn't a lot of roof damage. There wasn't a lot of any other type of damage out there. So, we're talking about drywall, and I have used Right Way for a large scale reconstruction on a fire project a few years ago, and they have the ability to get this entire thing done. Florida law has changed a little bit where it's illegal now for them to demand an assignment of insurance benefits, which is good for us. I mean, flood insurance doesn't allow it anyway, but Florida law doesn't allow it for hazard anymore. So the nice thing is all the money's going to be coming to the association, and we're going to be paying the contractor. On the reconstruction side, what I'm going to be pushing for or recommending to your board to be pushing for is that we, the demolition, they need to see what's going to be done, and we want an estimate on the reconstruction cost. And in all likelihood, we're probably going to bid that process as well. WSV did some work out there. They may be capable of doing it as well. So we can probably do that on a competitive bid type of situation. However, time is of the essence. So we're not, or at least I'm going to recommend to your board that we're not going to spend a lot of time, going around and around trying to find, save $5,000 here, since it's we have very good coverage. I think we have 914 on one building and 950 on the other building, $950,000 of coverage. Let's see, what else is going on? We've got, many of you may already know that we've cobbled together the electrical panels. Or we had 4 units that had no power. They're now sharing with 4 of the other units that you folks are going to be working out gentlemen's agreements where, we want the air conditioners to keep running. Air conditioners running, limit the damage to the unaffected stuff upstairs, keeps the moisture levels in check until we can, get them completely dried out. We did have the electrical contractor, Electrical Solutions, came out and did that work for us to get power to all the units again. They did an assessment of the electrical panels, and all of that stuff's going to have to be replaced because, they're all fried on the bottom end and they're all connected, and it's just a complete mess. An interesting kind of issue was we told them to go ahead and start looking, and they were, and I'll give you the scary part of it is this stuff is so old that you really can't get it anymore. So, he went out and started contacting his sources to find what we need, and actually found somebody who had ordered it and wouldn't use it and could sell it to us. And, bad news is it's about, what was it, Rob, $35,000, $40,000, something like that?
So let me just back up for those of you that aren't aware really of what David's talking about. When the flood came up, it came up into the electrical meter pans. We have an 8-bank meter pan on the end of each building. They're vertically stacked, 4 in each column. The bottom 2 meters in each meter pan went underwater. When they went underwater, they totally fried or burnt out or blew up the connector that used to connect the meter to the main breaker. It's called a bus bar, and the bus bar disintegrated. The bus bars are not replaceable. We have to replace the entire 8-meter panel. This is coming from electricians that I've spoken to, and it's come from 3 different electricians that I've spoken to. To source the materials, 2 out of the 3 told me it would be up to a year. The third guy said, yes, it would be up to a year to source the materials. However, he happened to find them on a job site where he could purchase them for us and have them on site within days, basically. He was told that because we have not had an adjuster and because we don't really know exactly what's going on yet, that we could not authorize that. And he, as a businessman, decided that the odds are in his favor, and he decided to purchase the equipment on our behalf in the hopes that he gets the work. If nothing else, he'll have the only parts around, and he could probably gouge us and sell them to us for an inflated price. But nevertheless, it could save us a year of waiting. So knowing that it was going to be a year of waiting, I directed the electricians to, it was supposed to have been Paul's meter to Diane's meter, my meter to Mark's meter, and the house meter to the other ones. But unfortunately, he couldn't tap the house meter. And without real clearance, he tapped residence meters, which I know is going to complicate things and confuse things. But I'm hoping everybody's feeling neighborly and will work it out. You know, you have my word that we'll certainly work it out for those affected by it. But that's the way it is right now, to keep everybody's electric on and keep mold out of the building. That was the major concern, was without the coolness and the heat that's going on down there, mold was growing quickly in the units without electric.
Yep.
That's why that decision was made, and that's where we're at now.
Apologies if I let anything out of the bag, Rob. It was just, I've dealt with this electrician for 20 years. He's a well-known in this community and has been all over the place as far as that go. Electrician, big time commercial electrician, obviously capitalized well enough that he can go buy parts on speculation.
I think he's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there are really, and you know, he's not young, he's not old, he's pretty much my age, and you know, he's built a heck of an electrical contracting group there.
They people there for us within hours of us calling them, and they didn't leave the site until they had power up and running for us. So, you know, they're very, as far as I'm concerned, very reputable. The technicians were very, very knowledgeable. And, you know, that's the update on the electric. The electric is one of the bigger issues that we've had, other than, you know, the wet sheetrock. The other variable I know at this point, and a lot of these things aren't even worth talking about until the adjuster comes in, but the tile floors and the water that may or may not have gotten under the tile floors. They're saying that, you know, it really increases the job scope if they have to lift all the tile floors. But then if there's water under them, they're going to have to lift all the tile floors.
Question, Rob.
Yeah.
We're talking about, and I'll make a motion right now to replace panels, to pay to replace the panels.
So I mean, with that said, and I didn't mention the price for replacing the panels was about $39,000. Let's just say $40,000 to round it off. I would love to say, yeah, let's make that motion and spend the money and do it, but I really think we need to wait and see what the adjuster says first. We're going to have to do it, and even if we have to spend the $40,000, the problem is if the adjuster thinks we have to go further. There is the slim possibility that the wires themselves going from those meter boxes into our individual units may have to be replaced, because there is the concern that the conduit pipes are now full of that same flood water. And how do we get the flood water out of the conduit pipes? Will that flood water, if we leave it in the conduit pipes, do damage to the wiring that is in there? I'm told all electrical conduit pipes are going to get water in them. The problem is this is seawater, and salt and electric don't mix. So again, I don't think we can really make a motion quite yet until we at least get the preliminary tomorrow, from the adjuster.
Rob, this is Paul.
Yes, Paul?
Who is, since we're not down there, who is making sure our air conditioners are running?
Okay, so when I was on site, there's, well, our project coordinator is Ryan. And I left him as the AC police direct. You know, I found that the laborers were turning the AC down to like 40 degrees because they thought it would actually go down to 40 degrees. And then they left at night and they left them all turned down to, 40 and 60. So I said, look, and I wasn't joking. I told them I'll shut the friggin' power off if you can't keep them in line. And you'll have to bring in your own generators. So they promised me that they would not allow them to turn it down below 78 degrees. And, when I was there, I was going into every unit and making sure and checking. When I left, I asked Ryan to make sure and be the AC police. He told me he would. So confidence in the crew. That's your answer.
Okay.
And I checked last night and they are. Ryan's going by and locking every unit at night and turning the AC, making sure the ACs are at 78. At least they were last night, and I'll check again tonight.
Yeah, Joe, that would be great because Ryan had off today, so I don't know who was covering for him.
I check every night.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
And Joe, if you need keys, I have them.
Okay.
Okay.
So to move back to to wrap up what I'm talking about, we're gonna, I'm hoping tomorrow that we'll have an idea of what the initial monies coming through are. And if they are substantial, then it may be time to just go ahead and get those panels, because part of what we're actually going to be doing is making sure that they see everything that we're working on, pointing out these electrical things to the adjuster on this preliminary walkthrough, and giving him I'm going to tell him right there, we'd like to get the electrical panels done now. It's a $40,000 expenditure. We can get that paperwork to you once I have a written estimate. But now that we're the biggest issue was getting into communication with the adjuster. We only got into communication with the adjuster. I think I finally got him on the phone last night. The claims were filed on last Friday, a week ago. But as you can imagine, the flood situation in Florida is excessive, and adjusters for FEMA and for national flood insurance policies have a different skill set than hazard adjusters do, and there aren't enough of them. And I can't control that, so that's part of what the issue is.
This is Paul. I didn't hear who has the keys down there.
This is Mark.
Oh, you have them?
Yes,
Okay.
For all of them, ours too.
I
Mark.
have this. Rob, you can talk about that because I don't know if I have.
Mark has all the keys with the exception of 55, 44, and 46. 55 and 44 are owned by the same person, and they haven't. Well, no, I'm sorry. I do have 55s. So I believe it's 44 and 46. Joanne wouldn't give me her key. And 44 does not have a key. So
I'm not interested in hearing that.
we have almost all the keys. Okay.
Right.
Just to wrap up from my perspective, I really can't give you any kind of hard timeline on when you'll be back in and everything will be fixed. It's too preliminary for this. We don't know how much money we're getting. Rob, I don't know if you want to talk about, now that we have the wood under the front windows uncovered, talk about that issue a little bit and what we may or may not want to proceed with on those.
So one thing that is flood, well, there's a couple things the flood has uncovered for us.
I
Some
haven't even
good,
passed.
some bad. By cutting out the sheetrock 4 feet up on all the walls,
I can't,
it's,
gotta deal with this.
it's definitely,
Hmm?
exposed what's behind the walls. One thing it's exposed is there doesn't seem to be any termite activity, at least on the ground floor. That's the plus. The minus is it exposed the wood rot underneath the kitchen windows. Almost every single unit has wood rot underneath the kitchen windows. Some not as bad as others, but all of them to at least some extent through to the stucco. I don't know if we're even allowed to just cover it up now that we see it. It's not something I feel comfortable in doing. I believe it needs to be repaired now that we have a visual of it and we know it's there. And it's obviously not going to be covered by flood insurance. So it's going to be an additional expense. I mean, maybe we can negotiate with the restoration crew and, come up with an amicable deal, but there's going to be some expense that's not going to be covered. The root cause of the rot is the windows. So windows was on our agenda to talk about. I don't know if we will have the money or if we want to go as far as doing a special assessment to do all remaining windows so that we can do one construction project, be done with it, be out of our places for a year or whatever they're saying, but get everything done and, pretty much have brand new places, hopefully, when we're done. But there is wood rot under the windows. No idea, no estimates on what it's going to be to redo. We have a vague idea on the windows and stucco work because we've had some stucco work and windows, smaller windows done. But that's something we're going to be looking into also. What else?
We're going to do everything that we can to push as much through the flood insurance that we can. And the nice thing about flood insurance is we may end up with more money than we need on the regular construction that we can apply to, if not entirely offset, at least, because I had the conversation with the adjuster is, I will build it in there, whichever, because the nice thing is they're going to come up with their estimate and send us a check. And if we're over, we, continue with the claim and get more money. But if they send us a check that's more money than we need to finish it, we get to keep the money anyway. So
with that said, David, don't mention the $40,000 estimate we got on the electric.
I wasn't planning to. I was just basically saying
other estimates were much, much, much higher than that. So.
Yeah. I mean, basically say, this is the issue. We've got to do this. It's, functional obsolescence. We may have to go in a different direction and let him do his thing. That's what we're going to try to do, but build the claim as much as we can. And if it gives us money that we can use to do the other side, and who knows, maybe we'll get some, I don't know if the flood damage on the front actually caused, damage on the exterior wall. Maybe it did. Maybe they're going to see that. I don't know yet. And at this point, there's too many questions to say, oh, this is going to end up as a special assessment. It might, but I agree with Rob 100% that while the walls are open, it's going to be a heck of a lot less of an issue to,
Fix things.
Repair, replace, whatever we need to do out there. There may be a way that we don't have to actually rip the outside walls off and stucco off to repair this, but we won't know until we actually talk to a general contractor the best way to go about fixing this.
I'd like to see that magic trick.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I'm pitching rainbows here. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a contractor, but there may be some magic wand that they can wave at it without having to basically start over with a whole new front wall.
I think Daniel needs to catch a flight. So Daniel, do you want Daniel, you're muted right now. We can't hear you. Danny, you got to unmute yourself.
He's looking at it.
I know
that ain't it.
Now we can't hear or see you.
Well, he'll pop back in, but I mean, at this point, I'm just looking at what I need to talk about. Flood remediation questions timeline. It's too early. We're a week in. We don't have the information to be able to actually give you good estimates. We'll have that conversation tomorrow afternoon with the adjuster just to see where he's going to be.
Mark, I know they were, pest eliminators were setting up with you to be coming in and inspecting. Have you heard from them?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I do know that I had Mary Ann working with pest eliminators to come chase the boxes that floated away, as well as inspect inside all the units for termites.
All right, so they're on it. They're just slow. Okay. What do we
Can I
have
ask
next?
a question? The
Most
funds for my unit for pest eliminators?
Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Now
can.
we can.
Rosie, 1 minute, please. Danny, I know you have to catch a flight, right? So you
Yeah. I just have a quick question. It's a little premature, but Carpenter Kings, Arthur has done a lot of work for your aunt, Diane, and for me. And
And
he's
for
and he
And
us.
for us,
and for you and many. And I was wondering, he's done a lot of work for a lot of us. And I have rentals that's supposed to be in, I know this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff premature. But anyway, I have rentals that's the place supposed to be rented in the winter. And he wanted to give me an estimate. Now I don't have flood insurance, mind you, but I was thinking if it's possible, maybe I'm out of line to ask him for a price to fix my unit and see what it is. And I know once we get a settlement from the adjuster, you all figure it out. You know, you and Miss in Palmer, okay, of how much per unit. And if I get an estimate and it's in line with that, or it's close, then I would cover the difference, or is that totally out of line to do that?
David, I'm going to let you answer that because, I would initially say no. You're in the same boat as everybody. If we start letting everybody do their own repairs and do their own thing, it's going to get chaotic. I'm just
asking,
we have a restoration company. We haven't even had an adjuster through yet. So if I'm in charge, I'm going to say no. I mean, it is a group decision, I would assume. But my opinion is it's just going to really complicate things if we start letting individuals go their own route. This is an association and it's controlled by the board, so it's the board's decision. But that's my.
I'm just asking. I'm not.
And then
demanding anything.
I can see why. I can see why you're asking, but quite honestly, you're one of the units borrowing power from somebody else. And at this point, until we get the electric meters, I don't think it's necessarily fair, to let your tenants, live on.
I didn't know that I'm borrowing, and I guarantee you that I would never take from anyone in my life.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying there's.
Okay, if take 1 penny from them, they're getting it back.
No.
So it's not about that.
Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying there's complications involved.
Okay,
If you have a
that's fine. Whatever I owe someone, fine.
Electric meter, it's
Send me a bill.
I can't have
But-
that.
Okay, so if I can't do a separate contract, then that's okay. We're all as one group. I'm good with that. End of story. I'm good. Okay.
Would anybody else like to talk on that subject? Because I don't want to feel like the monarch here or whatever.
Well, it is Arnold. I agree with you also. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So we need to get the adjuster there, see what kind of monies we're talking about, and then move. Yeah, maybe, but the price can be better if you do it all as a group versus ones at a time. So
that's
well, is it a problem with them giving a price for all the building either? All of them, both buildings?
So is there an issue with that? There's no issue with us getting other prices.
Okay.
However,
go ahead.
These guys are on site. They really want to do the restoration part after they're done with the remediation part.
Okay.
They're going to be dealing directly with our insurance company on the claim. I feel strongly in wanting to allow them the entire contract. I don't mind listening to other people, and I guess we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't. But let's
That's okay. I'm going to drop
wait
it.
and
at this
see
point.
what
Fine.
the adjusters say first.
Yeah, I'm fine with all this. Okay. And I'll be down there tomorrow. Anyway, I'm not bringing it up
What
anymore.
Rob's alluding to, Dan, is economies of scale, meaning a contractor who's doing 15 units is going to, all of the general conditions and setup stuff is you're going to have economies of scale that are going to save you money on that whole side, where one contractor coming in to do one unit has to set up for just one unit.
What I'm saying to you again would be, you have them give us a price for all the units.
Well, you know
No
what,
15.
Daniel? Every single unit is exactly the same as far as the damage went.
Okay.
So if he gives you an estimate, we can multiply it by 15 and see where he's going. So
I think we're off track a little bit here. It's
Okay.
not what your contractor's estimate is, because remember, what the insurance pays for is the original construction. Okay, it doesn't necessarily, cabinets or mica countertops. That's what's going to come through in the adjuster's estimate, and that's what's going to be available. Dan had asked about, finding out what each unit is being paid. Well, we're going to know that once we get the formal adjuster's estimate, and we may be able to if we're working with Right Way, they're going to be able to say, well, that's based on nonsense numbers, and we're not talking about a settlement here. We're talking about they're going to pay us what it costs to fix it. It's a little different than a lot of the insurance claims from Ian, where, oh, we'll give you a global settlement and you fixing it's on yourself. This is going to be, as long as it's within the policy numbers that I gave earlier, this is what it costs to fix. Send us a check after we pay our deductible. Who the contractors are, that's something that the board is going to decide as we go along. So,
and we can take our granite countertops off, and they can put it back at additional if we can save them or whatever. I got it all.
I know that they've already done. They've worked very diligently to pull off, to try to not break anything when they remove it, but realizing that the insurance doesn't necessarily cover unit odor improvements. That's why you would have your own flood insurance coverage, because that's all part and parcel to it. If you don't have that, you may be, maybe coming out of your own pocket if you've got improvements that were, not just the flood damage, but actually the remediation part of it. The association's only responsible to return it to its original construction, which is cabinets, countertops,
How about
working
painting?
electricity.
Does
Right.
Mr. Palmer, does painting include that, David?
Painting is not included.
Okay. All right. I got to catch
Here's
a
the
flight.
thing is, I don't want to swear that it's not, because it's not like in a hazard policy and if we were making a claim with our wind policy, painting wouldn't be included. That would be on your own HO6 policy. There are so many things that are included in flood insurance that aren't included in hazard insurance. I don't want to swear that it's not. If you would ask me the week before, I would have said, sure, it's not included. You're on your own. But there are things that are going to be included that with a flood policy claim that are not included in a hazard. And, for example, and I'm just saying this not to waste time, but just so everybody understands, if this was all a result of wind damage from the storm, we would not be responsible for floors. We would not be, we being the association, would not be replacing cabinets. We wouldn't even be talking about countertops. We would be bringing the drywall back to a paint ready, well, not even a surface, it's just a rough drywall. You would be responsible for surface, texture, and paint, and cabinets and all the other things. I've learned since this, because this is my first actual huge flood insurance claim, that's not accurate. flood insurance covers a lot of things that hazard insurance policies don't. So yes, they're going to cover the cabinets. Yes, they're going to cover replace if they didn't manage to save the countertop. They'll replace a countertop. It may not be. They're not going to put a marble countertop back in, but they'll put something in, and we can work with our contractors to say, well, this is what is covered. You want to put something else more on? Well, that's fine. You're going to pay the difference as far as that goes out of either your own flood claim or, you know, your own pocket.
Again, I was told by the restoration company, not the adjuster, because the adjuster hasn't been there yet. But the right way has documented everything that was in each unit as they were going through and taking it out. They took pictures of what cabinets were in. They took pictures of all the appliance model numbers. They took pictures of the appliance and the model numbers. They've documented everything on a unit by unit by unit basis. If it had a wood floor, if it had a vinyl floor. So they've documented all this. They are absolutely imperative when it comes to the adjustment and the adjuster gets there, because they've got all the notes and documentation.
Hey, Rob, I gotta go. This is Daniel. I'll be down there tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you for going down, and hopefully keeping an eye on things for us.
Okay. See ya. Bye.
Safe travels.
This is Paul. Could I have the floor for a couple minutes to bring something up?
We were going to get the question and answers part, but Dave, are you pretty much done with your presentation?
I'm done, unless I was basically just going to let folks ask me questions if they needed to.
Okay, now Rosie did have a question, so I want to get back to her and let her ask that question.
Thank you. So my unit number 43 had termites. The board approved the termite remediation about 2 months ago, but Palmer Management never released the funds to pest eliminators to do the termite. And I spoke with pest eliminators and they said, now is the time while the drywall's out to do it. I'm just wondering why the funds.
So I don't really know why pest eliminators would want to be paid before performing the service. Normally they perform the service and then present an invoice. So why they're asking for money up front is a little bit strange to me.
They won't do the work for me until somebody approves it.
Well, it's been approved, but it has nothing to do with.
I keep telling them the board approves it. They must Palmer Management.
All right.
They haven't contacted us, and we don't pay without an invoice, so.
So exactly. I mean, usually they do the work and then they provide an invoice. The invoice gets paid. Why they haven't gotten the order to do the work might be the question. So that said, they are due to do an inspection of all units now that the drywall is down.
Okay.
At the time, if we feel that, yes, we need to proceed and do your unit, Claire's unit, any units that there might be any activity, we're going to take care of them all. I don't know why they haven't. It's not a money issue. It's not releasing the money. It might be a miscommunication in giving the orders. But they're going to be taken care of. Now is the time, definitely, with the walls open. They told me that with Claire's unit, because we knew we were going to be opening walls in there from the previous leakage. And they said, you'll get a much better job with the walls open.
Okay.
You know, one thing with the walls open that I found is, at least on the side walls, the concrete block walls, that's all pressure treated CCA lumber. They're not going to eat that. They won't. So that means to me, we really only need to treat the back walls and the front walls. So maybe that whole $1,200 estimate we can throw out.
Be cut down.
Well, we certainly don't want to treat things that don't need to be treated. Now we know they don't need to be treated. So we as a board would like to save as much money as possible. So I'd like to readdress it. I'd like them to do their inspection in the next day or two. They have been asked to do that. There is an email saying they're coming to do that. They're also in contract with us for the rat boxes that all floated around the property. So they have to come for that. So we'll be in touch with them, and I personally will follow up with them. And we're going to get rid of any bugs that there are.
Thank you.
Rob,
Okay.
real quick about them coming in. Now, since I had the termites, they were upstairs
Yes.
and all my stuff is up there. Like,
Yes.
are they going
I-
to go
I-
up there?
Well,
Will they be able to like even get to like,
I don't know how they could do an inspection of the place without inspecting the place. So
No,
do
I
they
don't
need to
care,
go
but-
up there? I would say, yes, they need to go up there.
There's-
They're not gonna open walls upstairs.
Oh.
If, look, I'm no bug expert by any means, shape or form. I don't know how these termites get in and out. I always thought they came in, I thought they came in from the ground. That's just what I thought. How do they get from downstairs to upstairs without going through the downstairs? Do they fly? Do they come through the air? I mean, they may. I don't know. If they do, the bug people are gonna
Parachutes.
know where to target them. Looking at the bottom, they're gonna see the CCA like I did. They're gonna say, we gotta target them in the front wall and the back wall, and we can get a better plan. That's all we're looking to do. Not avoid anything. I'm not trying to avoid anything, but I think at this point, because of the flood, we can get a better plan, and hopefully save money.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
can I have the floor a minute? This is Paul.
Sure, Paul, go ahead.
As you know, before this flood happened, we had a big flood because of the roof. And Galloway did not properly put back the membrane and the water flooded the upstairs and downstairs. I had Right Way go in there and they did a great job. They got everything documented. I have pictures before and after. They had taken out the cabinets already before this flood. This is the roof flood. They had taken up all the brand new flooring that was in there for less than a month.
Hey, Paul, can I just speed this up a little bit? I mean, all that stuff would have been ripped out in this flood anyway, and this flood is gonna cover it because we're not gonna, when the adjuster comes in, he's gonna say everyone flooded the same way. So it might get complicated with your claim, but we're all aware that they've took up the floor. They've taken up everybody's floor at this point. So
Okay,
I'm
but
sorry.
they're Galloway, Right Way wants to be paid for that first one where
For
they
the new
went
floor
in
they put
and
down.
tore it up. In other words,
They
Galloway
do it twice.
came in.
I
not
understand
Galloway,
they did
Right
work,
Way
they want
came
to be
in
paid for it.
and Right Way came in after that roof flood and they did the remediation and they had the place ready to be fixed. So they want to get paid for that remediation.
Okay, I didn't know that there was an issue with that.
Well, sure there's an issue. They didn't do that for nothing.
Well, I've seen no invoices presented to anybody.
They sent me the invoice.
Have you
Okay?
forwarded to Palmer or to anybody?
Not yet.
Okay,
I can.
we're gonna work it out, Paul. You got
You
flooded.
understand what
You
I'm
got-
saying is there's two remediation expenses. One is the first time because of Galloway's
Well, I'm
improper-
assuming because you were already remediated, they'll probably give us a break on the second remediation. So again, I'm willing to work it out, but if there's invoices, they need to be forwarded so that
Okay.
we're aware of them.
Who do I send them
I
to?
don't really know what we're gonna do about this mess. And hopefully we still owe Galloway a little bit of money so that we can maybe work it out with them. I understand Galloway's point of view. They wanted to try to do it themselves and not go through their insurance, but they have insurance. They went on the roof, they caused the leak. Inevitably, they're responsible. So, hopefully it doesn't go down to litigation, but as far as I'm concerned, Galloway's responsible for that damage.
All right,
not-
I'll send- Who do I send the invoices to?
Well, I'm hoping I can send them to Palmer, and between David and I, we can work it out. But again, you can't get angry with us until we have the opportunity to make it right. So send us the invoices so that we can review them and discuss them and figure out what we're gonna do about it.
Okay. I will do that.
Thank you. Okay.
And I don't know if this is useful or not, but there may be money coming that we didn't expect for that unit that may help wash this out. Meaning, we're just gonna be quiet and see if we get paid for flood damage in Paul's unit,
Right, this adjuster.
which may offset these previous expenses, but we're not going to tip our hand to the flood insurance adjuster. Because if we get money out of it for the flood damage, then that may solve some of the problems. You know, the remediation work that was done for Paul's unit, well, it was done before the flood, but it would have been done after the flood.
So I mean, it might be something we can work with Right Way on also. I mean, let's be realistic. If they've already done the remediation to that, then they had very little to do with the flood.
That's
So
true.
go ahead and bill us for the flood and let's forget about the first remediation. I'm sure we can negotiate. It will be worked out somehow.
I don't want to like promise anything, but that's where I think this is going.
I think we can negotiate it.
All right,
One way or
I'll send the copies.
Paul, one way or another, you shouldn't be on the hook for any of this. I mean, it was certainly not your fault. I feel you did the right thing by getting remediation in there. I mean, realistically, Galloway should have gotten remediation in there or, sorry, David, management should have. It shouldn't have been thrown to you and put on your responsibility, I don't think. That was an association issue right from the get-go when the roofer didn't do the right thing and let the water in. So,
All right.
again, the way I feel, I'm no expert, but those are my feelings. Let's move on.
Okay.
Mr. Secretary, what is the next thing on the agenda?
I don't have it here in front of me.
Now, South
Building gutters.
Okay, so the south building needs gutters put on the front of the building because the roofer didn't pitch it to the back of the building like he was supposed to. And now we need another expenditure to, I guess, rectify that situation. The water does pour off the front of the building like a river, which I guess they knew it was gonna because he said he pitched it to the front, even though there's never been gutters on the front ever. So I'm not really overly happy with that, as you all know, but I'm told we're just gonna have to live with it. Because it really wasn't specified in the specs that it has to pitch to the back. It says it has to pitch a 1/4 inch per foot, but it didn't necessarily specify, from what I can see, from the front to the back. So this roofer decided there was a crown in the center and he was gonna pitch it both ways. So it puts us a little bit of a dilemma. However, we did get a price to put gutters on there for half the price of the north building that we just did. It's about 45 or 4,800 opposed to 10,000. I hate spending any money, but it has to be done. I mean, we have no choice. We did get a nice inexpensive roof compared to the last one. You know, the last one was 180,000. This one was only 58. So if we add on another 4,000 for gutters, we're still well under what they paid us to replace the roof. So I would make a motion to go ahead and accept the bid for the 40 whatever, 4,000 whatever, and get gutters on the front of the building so that we don't cause any more rot.
Well, I'll second that because we got to have them.
All right, I have a second. Mark, you're the only one left. You with us?
Yes, I am. And now that we have a second, I'll open it to discussion, or you can open it to discussion. My only concern is where's the water gonna go? Gutters are easy, downspouts are hard.
Very true. That's a very good question. I mean, obviously it's gonna end up pouring over the sidewalk and into the parking lot. I think the parking lot can take it, being as that's new. Sidewalks and plant beds, you know, I don't know. I guess who was involved with, like, Danny was probably involved in getting that estimate, and now he's not with us anymore.
The estimate came straight from
From Gal.
Galloway just had their people come over. Same people that did the back gutters.
Yeah, yeah.
And we know from experience what they'll do is they'll just run downspouts to the ground and they're done.
So they didn't specify where they would have the downspouts going?
Yeah, I guess maybe before we authorize it, we should ask those questions. Good point.
Maybe they can wrap it around the building and tie it into the back unit where if they all flow out the back of the building versus dumping
The
out.
problem is the gutter, I mean, the amount of water that runs off, they need at least 4 downspouts. I think they put 4 across the back of that building. So, I mean, you got the laundry room on one side. So going to the back would be pretty difficult. And then you got the center ones, which pretty much would have to come down into the parking lot. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, digging under the parking lot and doing drainage, that's a pretty major project in itself. Not saying I wouldn't try to do it over the winter while I'm there, but it brings up a valid point. I mean, it goes back to, you know, do we go after them for not pitching the roof the right way, or do we go ask them what's it cost to lift the membrane up and put pitch in to go the other way? I don't know.
Rob, my understanding is the pitch wasn't the issue so much as they would have to raise the front portion of the roof.
3.5 inches. That was
yeah, at least, maybe more.
yeah, I do. I remember the number 3.5 inches on the front to get it to go over the crown, which was supposed to have been part of the specs, and I thought it was, but again, it was not put in there, only verbally. So, you know, again, spilt milk, but again, you know, we got an inexpensive roof. Would it pay? You know, obviously it's going to be more than $4,000, but would it pay to have them lift the membrane and pitch it to the back? I don't know if they could even do that. Maybe it's something we want to ask. You know, if it's, I don't know what it could possibly be. I really don't. Probably the different, probably 130,000 to get it up to the 180, but. All right, so what are we gonna do then?
Let's ask them for a written detail of how they're going to install it and what their plan is to pitch the water away from the building.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to ask them to, for a schematic or a plan of where the water's gonna go and how it's gonna come off the building, where the downspouts are gonna be. You know, the back of the buildings doesn't have the kitchen windows. It doesn't have those recesses. I really don't know how they'd bring those gutters down, you know, trying to visualize it in my mind at this point. So, very good question. Mark, if you're there, can you
Yes,
meet up with a gutter guy and discuss it with him?
sure.
And you do have the
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Mark's on the ground for what, another, how many,
Couple
5,
hours?
6
Next,
days?
till next Wednesday.
All right, well, who is this gutter company? You have their proposal there? Can you field this, or you want us to
Yes,
propose and set it up, or?
I'll take care of that.
All right. So Mark's on the gutters. Okay, how about the gutters on the north building, Mark? Did they do a nice job?
It sure looks like it. Daniel and I pitched a fit yesterday because they were going to run the downspouts wherever they came out in front of the lanais. And after several phone calls, and we were able to get them to run the gutters parallel to the first floor gutters.
Like
So
they did with the other building.
It looks just like the other building.
Excellent. Okay, so in that case, I guess we're okay telling David he can pay that bill?
I would say so, but I'm not a gutter expert. It would be nice to see it rain once, but you know.
Well, the nice news is you're gonna have a lot of rain in the next few days.
Okay, so what is today, Friday?
Yeah, so I mean, they're telling me that the depression's gonna drop 7 or 8 inches in the next few days.
Oh,
Let's just, I can stall until the latter part of next week to pay them, have a look, and then if you're satisfied, send me an email, because I sent out an email before the meeting, is this okay to pay?
Yep.
Sit on it until the end of next week, and then you tell me whether or not to pay it or not.
Sounds
Roger.
good. I like it.
All right, so you're on double gutter detail there, Mark, watching for overflow. All right, I don't think we had anything else on the agenda, other
You have
than,
north building roof repair, AC connections.
oh,
You have finished south building erosion project, and you have windows.
thank you, David.
You're most welcome. I brought this agenda with me so I could keep you on track.
All right, so then, what's the next item?
North building roof repair, AC connections, birches, gutters. You've already talked about gutters.
So, the AC connections, I'm not too familiar with what's going on. I do have Birches as my AC people, and I had them in tending to my stuff. I think while they were up there, they tended to a couple others. I don't know if all of them needed attention or what the deal there was.
I can speak to this.
Yes.
Danny was having them come up to do his, and while they were up there, they said, wow, several people need them. And so I contracted with Birches to do mine. They have not gone up and done them yet. It's
Oh,
basically
I think they
replacing.
have, Mark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think when they did mine, yours, and Daniel's, I believe.
Wow, new information.
Yeah, they were up
I
there
got
last
my
week.
invoice already, so check your inbox. You might
I
wanna
have
check
received
with
an
them.
invoice.
You might want to check with him. I'm 99% sure he told me that you and Danny were all set. But at the time, you guys didn't have power, and he wasn't able to actually turn it on. But he did do the repairs. Is what
Okay.
I was told.
Excellent.
Okay, so
we have received no feedback from Galloway about the status of their repair job, other than I know they were up there.
and I also saw him up there with caulking guns. I don't know what they were doing. Nobody spoke English. Have we received an invoice for that, David?
I have not.
So maybe they're not done. So we need a Galloway update. Okay,
Your next item on the agenda is the
Erosion.
south building erosion project.
so there's Joe. He's-
Okay. I have a truckload of dirt coming in. However, it's been halted, obviously, because of the flood, but on a moment's notice, I can give them a 24-hour notice that dirt will be delivered. And I also commandeered a small skid piece of equipment that they're going to bring the dirt to the back. And then I'll need to rent a compactor. Now, I'm leaving the country in 6 days. I don't come back till the 22nd of October. So I don't know if I can get this done before that based on everybody being in the parking lot, or do we wait till the end of the month?
If I were you, I'd wait.
I agree.
I mean, with the flood that we had, we didn't wash away. I don't think, now that we have good gutters, good downspouts and drainage on the back of that building, it's not the emergency that it was.
Correct.
And like I told you, Joe, when I get down there, I'd be more than happy to help you. But, go on vacation, get the hell away from there. It's a construction zone anyway.
Exactly.
Let's worry about it when you get back.
10-4.
And lastly, I think it was windows. Now, windows was a pipe dream once upon a time before a flood came along. I don't think we have any business really discussing that right now, again, until we know exactly what we're into here with the adjuster and what kind of monies we're gonna be shelling out and deductibles and whatnot.
Can I make a suggestion here?
Yeah,
One of the things I've learned in this whole process is that the caulking should be redone on all the windows every 2 years. We probably never had the caulking redone. And it's entirely possible that recaulking all of the windows could go a long way toward alleviating any issues we've had up till now.
can't disagree, and I think caulking should be part of a repainting project. And I think the repainting should follow, whatever we're doing now. We already have one unit that's just got bare stucco. Chances are we're gonna have a lot of under kitchen windows as bare stucco, which is gonna, require us to paint the building. And painting and caulking just goes together. So
One of the things I would point out is once the reconstruction, I don't want to say that we're going to have extra money left over after this, but I have a sneaking suspicion that we might. And we have some other money that we haven't spent from the last insurance settlement. There may be some opportunity there to accelerate the painting process. Part of the next painting process needs to be more focused on sealing the building than what the building looks like. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to paint the building and it looks lovely. It's a great, pretty building. But the reason you repaint every 8 years is to seal the windows and seal the concrete separation to make sure we are managing water intrusion. That's why you paint every 8 years. And I don't have your budget in front of me, but we're probably getting close.
Yeah, I believe our reserves for painting is almost full as far as what we guesstimated. That might be shy since we want to do a hard pressure washing. We want to do it hard, not just like you say, cosmetic. So, but I think that this is all part of this, next year, this reconstruction project, whatever you want to call it, flood remediation. All these things are going to come together.
We're going to be able to make a lot more intelligent decisions once the reconstruction from the flood issues are done. Because at that point, we'll know, do we have extra money? And will that allow us to do windows? Will that allow us to throw some money at painting and caulking that we really need to do?
So right now, if we thought we had money to do the upstairs windows that I thought were the more important ones, but now the downstairs windows have shown their ugly face, the downstairs ones have to be done. Maybe we have the money to do the downstairs ones. Maybe we'll raise the money to do the upstairs ones. I think, again, and I said it a dozen times probably, we have to wait for this adjuster to come through and see where we are and where we're heading.
I agree.
It is probably time to sit down and really look at our finances and see what we did spend from the money we took in from insurance and what we have left. And take it from there. So, does anybody have any other questions?
I have a
No, I
question.
have a-
When,
Go ahead, Claire.
when will I mean, I know this is a very general question, but is there any idea when I can live there again?
So basically they've said that nobody had to move out. If you're okay with taking cold showers,
I'm not.
living without a kitchen, then, you can move back in tomorrow. Mark's staying there, I stayed there, there are people staying there, so nobody says you can't stay. That said, do we know when it's going to be livable for you? It could be up to a year. They did say that, they would put a push on the ones, and I actually asked Rightway, to put a push on the residence places. But, we haven't contracted with Rightway to reconstruct yet. So, when we do contract with somebody to reconstruct. It's my opinion, and the people actually living in the complex or trying to live in the complex get done first. The people that have been displaced get done second, and the snowbirds get done last. But we're not there yet. So I can't even give you a guesstimate when it's going to have a hot water heater and a kitchen back. So I know that doesn't answer your question, but that's
No,
all.
it helps. It just gives me an idea. Thank you.
This is a crazy idea. What if we just declare the whole damn thing a disaster and bulldoze it down?
Why would you want to do that?
Get rid of it. It's an old building that's a piece of crap.
Well, if you don't want your unit, I'll buy it off you cheap, but I'm not ready to bulldoze mine over yet.
I'm
Paul,
gonna
that's my house.
actually,
Paul, that's where I live. That's my house. So I'm not looking at it like that.
before we go into that pointing fingers at each other, Paul, I'm gonna answer your question seriously from a
Okay.
legal perspective. And to condemn an association requires a membership vote. And while you may feel that it's time to walk away, realize, we have flood coverage of $1.8 million in change, because they're
Okay.
both over $900,000. The total value of the association is considerably more than that. Okay. So the most we're going to get out of insurance is $1,850,000, $1,900,000, something like that. It's between that. Is that enough to divide that by 15 and give it to everybody, and everybody's going to walk away? Yes, we'd be able to sell the land to somebody else, but that is not a board decision. That is not your decision. That is a membership decision where you'd actually have to vote to make the decision to dissolve the association.
We'd also have to get rid of those buildings for that, right? I mean,
Well, you could
maybe we could
probably,
split the buildings.
here's the thing is, at that point, we're dissolving the association and then we're putting whatever's left on the market, right? And I don't know how hot the market is or whatever it is, but is that piece of property worth enough money as is? Because we're not going to spend the money to demolish any of them because there's no insurance proceeds. I mean, it might be a different discussion if we had the hurricane hit us on the head and we were talking about a full replacement value plus every insurance issue that we were going to get the whole insured value from it. At that point, you may be making a different decision. But from a flood insurance type of deal, $1.9 million is not what it's worth. There's not enough money in the insurance proceeds. Well, I don't want to say that there's not. I'm saying, okay, well, let's just assume that we're going to get the full $1.9 million and then decide to sell what's left. How much money will we get for, basically, because the condominium as it stands doesn't have any value to a buyer. They're going to say the property is worth this, less what it takes to bulldoze the rest. You divide that by 15, and that's that's not something the board can decide. That's something that the entire membership's going to decide. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's just a 66% of membership. It may be something completely larger than that. I don't think it's 100%, but it may be 75% of membership has to decide to make that decision. And then you're sitting there waiting to decide, do we even get any offers on it? How hot is the market? Are we heading into a recession? Can we actually get out of this? So at this point, I don't know that that's a reasonable expectation.
No, I understand. It was just like
Yeah, I know. It's a frustration comment, and I certainly feel you on that.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? All right. I guess we've covered about all we can cover. Mark will continue to keep everybody updated with his emails, I'm sure. And I hope he does anyway, because I got no eyes down there and it drives me crazy.
So when do you want to do the next meeting?
Let's do the next meeting, I guess. Same time in a month from now.
On the first
I don't have a calendar.
of November is a Friday.
All right, let's do it the first Friday at 4 o'clock. David, will that work for you again? I know you
I'm
don't.
just going to point out to the directors, I've sent out a preliminary budget.
That's
You do
right.
need to go through that. Because the meeting that we're going to have in November will probably, I would say, let's push November's meeting back in November. So you have enough time to play with the budget. Tell me what you think is horse pucky, and we can change whatever we need to do. So I can do a budget mailing so we can approve the budget for the following year. That's the most important thing for the November meeting. Well, I shouldn't say that to you guys. That's probably not in your minds the most important thing. But realize from my perspective, the time frame is I need to get a budget approved, but I also need to mail the budget at the appropriate time so everybody gets notice. Board can vote to approve it. I can get coupons ordered so we're ready to go for next year. So what I would say is I would put next month's meeting on a TBD until you guys have had a chance to review and decide. You know, I've sent you out a first draft. It's just my best guess. There may be stuff in there that you think is nonsense. There may be stuff in there that you guys want to play with. Tell me what you want to change. Tell me what you want to do so I can get so where you guys are ready to vote for it, then I can mail it to membership so we can have a budget meeting next month.
Let's do this. You've already mailed that out to us. If we say the first and we keep it on the, the first Friday for now, we can always have other meetings, right? I mean, we're not.
Right. I mean, you can have your status update meetings like you've been doing previously. The one that I don't want to minimize what it is, but from a management perspective, there's a lot of statutory stuff that goes along with getting the budget approved according to your documents, not making sure that we're with statute. So that's a very important meeting, whether or not that's on the first Friday or the first Saturday or whatever you guys are doing. Whether or not I'm involved with that particular meeting, that's up to you guys. But you guys do need to review what I sent out for changes and get back to me, come to a consensus as to what, just from my perspective is before I put it in the mail to membership, you guys already should have reviewed it and be prepared to vote in favor of it.
Right, so what is your drop dead date? What is your drop dead date for us to get that to you, that we were happy or not happy with it?
We're not there yet. The drop dead date is I give it to you in September so you have some time to play with it. I don't even know after this that you've even looked at it.
I'll be honest,
realizing that, there are a limited number of days to set up a meeting in November or early December. The days of the Thanksgiving week shortens it up because nobody wants to have a meeting in Thanksgiving, including me. But I can't remember off the top of my head if you have what drives my bus is does your declaration require a 30-day notice or a 14-day according to statute notice? I think you guys are a 30-day notice, meaning I have to get it in the mail 30 days before whatever that meeting is. We are on the 4th of October. I would really love, to be in the mail by the latter half, meaning if, let's just say you guys are a 30-day notice, if I'm going to shoot for the mid part of November, that means, okay, let's just say we pick November 15th as a meeting date for your budget meeting. We need to be in the mail by October 15th to meet your statutory requirements, which means if we were going to shoot for an October 15th mailing, you've got 10 days to fool with this.
Okay. I've looked at it. Not totally.
I mean, Arnold,
the whole point is get to the point where you've looked at it. You can see what the payment amount is, that highlighted number at the top of it. And have I got any assumptions in there that you think are just not based on reality? Just
Well, I
so
got both of
everybody
yours. I got
knows,
the
the way
initial
I
one you
throw that
sent.
together is I use historical data to create, what I think it might be next year, and if there are big assumptions, I try to put those in the notes. But you can always call me and say, where did you come up with this number, Dave? Why did you do this, Dave? I think that's nonsense. And then I'll tell you what my assumption was, and you can tell me whether or not it's nonsense. But
All right.
usually
I saw both of them. I saw the
my
one you
reports
sent
do
and
is
with the
they talk
adjustment.
together amongst each other, and then Rob would give me a call and say, we've decided that this is bullshit and you need to change that.
All right.
Rob's like, what? Me?
No, I couldn't hear what Arnold was trying to say over you, and I think he was trying to say something, so.
Yeah. So I saw you sent two out. You sent an initial one out and you sent one that was revised downward with the insurance money added back into the thing. So that's as far as I've gotten with it. And I looked at last year's budget. So I'm trying to compare apples to apples right now, but yeah, I'll go through it and the board can get together. We need to discuss it, I think, as a financial meeting separate from the regular board meeting to
Do a
see what
workshop,
we agree or not agree on.
just to talk about what you want to do. And then, once you guys come to a consensus, have Rob or Mark send me whatever those changes are and I'll resend it out again.
So, board members, Mark, Arnold, let's review our, look at it yourselves, make your notes. Let's communicate amongst ourselves through email. I don't think we can actually have a Zoom meeting like this with sunshine laws or whatever. But we can communicate, one-on-one or whatever. I think this, I think that. And then at the next meeting, we can say, all right, we have time or we don't have time. I guess, David, would you let us know how much time we have?
Well,
yeah, I mean,
you've got time right now. I'm saying you probably have 10 to 15 days to get me the finalized mailed version. Okay. We don't have to have a meeting to approve the mailing, but what I mail needs to be, the board's looked at it, they're prepared to vote in favor of it before I put it in the mail.
Okay. So then let's all review it individually and send our questions out to each other and see where we're at with that.
And of course, if there's something in there that you completely don't understand, any one of you, or ask me whatever you want to ask. I can tell you what my assumption was based on. And if it's a complete swag, I'll tell you that too.
Just explain to me, if you can, why we got $22,000 back from insurance.
I don't have that in front of me. Give me a little bit more detail. The 22,000 you're talking about, what are you talking about?
I don't know. I mean, you revised our budget because we got a refund from insurance, you said, and you applied that.
There was a overcharge, and forgive me because I'm going from memory and I'm hoping that it's you guys, but I'd heard that we were getting they raised your rate too much in 2024 without following the rules, and it required your insurance company to give the money back. Meaning your insurance company said, here's what you're going to pay, and we paid it. And then the regulatory agencies over your insurance company said, hey, you didn't follow the rules about this increase that you gave to Charlotte Bay. Guess what? Give the freaking money back. And that's how that happened.
Okay, so let's just say
that's not going to be recurring because they're going to follow the rules next year. But
well, hopefully the rate will be correct next year. So
yeah, but they can't jump up that much, right? Like, in other words, if we budgeted that 22,000 in last year, and then they gave it back to us.
Well, I think what I did, and forgive me because I wasn't expecting to answer because it wasn't on the agenda. I was going to answer these questions. I'm going from memory. But and forgive me because there's 40 other associations that I've been nothing but screwing with budgets. I believe what I did was I backed that $22,000 out as a unexpected, non-recurring source of meaning it's going to buy down your assessment this year because we're getting money back that we didn't anticipate. So I think that's what I did.
But I guess the point I'm getting at is the anticipated increase in insurance is
Why don't
not,
we put a pin in this? Because I'm not comfortable answering the question because it's not fresh in my mind.
and
What I would say
I'll
is
review
call
it.
me on Monday and we can go through it when I have the damn thing open in front of me and I can say, this is what I did. Because I'm afraid that I'm going to tell you something in this meeting.
Understood.
I don't have it in front of me. I'm not comfortable at this point because I don't have everything in front of me. I'm not in my office. I'm remote.
Last thing I wanted to do is make you uncomfortable.
Oh, hell, everybody's uncomfortable right now. It's perfectly fine, but I really don't like giving, wild ass guess answers in this format.
All right, let's wrap this up.
I just want to say one thing. I want to thank the board for all they're doing because we're like a family down there and you're really putting a lot of effort and work into it. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Rana. Appreciation is appreciated.
I second Rona. Rob, I miss you already.
Me too.
Zelda. Okay.
Well, I'm going to ask a question here. Does it make sense for right now to schedule a meeting in 7 or 14 days that is specifically for the budget?
I would not because I need the budget meeting scheduled after I've mailed it. There's a statutory requirement. You guys need to decide what you want changed in the budget. Then I put it in the mail and our meeting will be 14 days or 30 days, depending on what your declaration says after I put it in the mail.
Well, I'm talking about a meeting for all of the board members to sit down and discuss the budget before
That's perfectly up to you guys.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the only way we're going to actually move forward on this. If
I wouldn't wait 14 days. I would do that sooner rather than later.
Okay.
You've got my, I don't want to wait 2 weeks to get my changes. I'm hoping you guys look at this over the weekend and talk about it next week. And I have a response from you the early part of next week as to what you don't understand and what you want to change.
Let's see if we can do it without a formal meeting.
Because you're not approving anything. You don't need a formal meeting. You're just trying to come to a consensus as to what you guys would be in favor of voting to approve after I've done the noticing. So you guys can communicate by email that basically says, I don't understand this. I don't like this. I want to change that. Rob can tell me this is what we've decided that we think needs to be adjusted to the proposed budget at this point. I'll send it back out as corrected. You guys give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, and we set up the budget meeting and mail it to everybody so they have the information prior to the meeting and we can go forward.
I just want to, I've done these budgets dozens of times, too many times with David. And, we run a pretty tight budget. There's not too many areas where, we can move from one line to another, but we spend just about every penny we bring in, usually more. And it's not really a budget that's cuttable. I mean, we could try to shop insurance, but we're lucky to have insurance. We can't shop the water bill. We can't shop the electric bill. I guess we could shop management, but it's it's
welcome to go ahead.
And it's going to be, it's not a budget. I don't want to say it's not a budget that's not negotiable. Of course it is. And then there's probably things we can cut, but it's not like we're redesigning the wheel. It's pretty cut and dry, but I recommend that, all of us look at it over the weekend. Let's again, get the questions out in email. And if we can tell David, no, just make these changes and mail it, then we can wait for the next meeting and do it that way, like he's suggesting.
I'm not sure that there's a lot of stuff you can mess with in this year's budget, but if we have a windfall out of this particular catastrophe, it may make a big difference in the following year.
Quite honestly, with what I said, I was just thinking cutting the budget. but there may be things we want to add into it. We found last year that maybe we weren't being, the rat issue might not have been covered correctly. And, maybe we want to increase that budget line. So, I mean, it's not really just decreasing all
And
of
the
that.
other thing that I would point out to you guys is, we've got these potentialities that are not in the budget that I sent to you, like the window sealing and the plywood and all the other things. None of that money's in there. So if we don't get enough out of insurance and we don't have enough in savings to manage that stuff, we may be talking about a special assessment, first quarter of next year or even earlier. I'm just saying that you may want to accommodate some of those things and say, okay, the number's this, let's bump this number because we know we're going to be short, or we think we're going to be short because what the insurance settlement's going to pay for is not all the work that we've got to do. And yes, we have some money left over from the last insurance issue, but is it enough? Those are the things I would be thinking about as you review the preliminary budget I sent to you.
So you think we should or could potentially budget into the annual budget capital improvement?
Well, what I'm saying is the big line item that is a complete swag every year is how much money are we going to be paying towards repairs and maintenance? Well, guess what? If I've got to spend another $20,000 on these repair to the windows, you could put that in the budget for next year. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying maybe we put more money into the budget. Yes, it's going to hurt everybody on the dollar amount per month, but that would reduce if we're short
a special assessment.
A special assessment. Those are the thoughts that go into the budgeting process is, or you say, you know what, let's just keep it as tight and as we can. And if we're short, we'll special assess. That is not something management's going to understand which way you guys want to lean. The budget that I presented to you has no real swag in it that we can rob Peter to pay Paul. No offense, Paul, if you're still on the phone. If we're short, you see what I'm saying is, I'm not sure that there's a lot of money built into this budget to do other projects, because I know Mark and I have talked about, are we going to have enough money left over for windows? Well, right now, who the hell knows, because we don't know if we're going to have enough money left over after the repair project. But maybe what we need to do is be talking about how much is sustainable this year to increase the assessment to minimize the risk of a substantial special assessment. I don't know the answers to that. That's what you guys need to be talking to each other about.
All right. So we can pretty much leave it open for the meeting at this point and schedule a meeting at any time, right? I mean, just got to be 48 hours.
Realizing, as long as you keep in the back of your head that I would really like to have coupons ordered in the first week of December.
Right.
And I can't order coupons until the budget is approved. So if we're shooting for a late November, early December budget meeting, and we've got a 30-day lead time, because I think you guys do have a 30-day lead time, meaning when I have to put it in the mail, we're on October 4th. If we're shooting for a November 30th, that means I have to mail it no later than the end of October. But that gives you time to play with it. But I wanted to just communicate that if you can expedite that, the sooner you guys can come to a resolution that the budget is something we are comfortable voting for, let's put it in the mail, that's good.
All right. So I guess right now, tentatively, we're looking at the 1st, but to be announced after review of the
Yeah, I mean, if as long as, here's the thing is, if you're shooting for a first meeting,
November 1st.
I'm already past the 30-day notice for a first meeting. So what I'm saying is we're probably going to move November meeting back. Oh, I'm sorry, December? Did I misunderstand?
Yes, we're
Okay, sorry.
November 1st.
We're talking November 1st, but we're going to get.
Yeah, I can't do a November 1st budget meeting because we're already past the 30-day notice requirement. We're on October 4th, meaning it's 30 days from the time you tell me to mail it, not from now. You see what I'm saying? You guys need to decide when you're ready to mail the notice. And if you've got a 30-day notice requirement, which
Well,
I'm
if you
going from
mail
memory, I think you
tomorrow-
do, I can't have a budget meeting before 30 days after I put it in the mail. And if I'm not going to put it in the mail on the 5th, that's tomorrow. You haven't decided what it is. So November 1st is not going to happen.
All right, it's got to be before that.
It can't be before that. There's no chance
oh,
I
it's
can
gotta
do it
be
before
later than
that.
because of the 30 days. Gotcha.
Yeah, I've got a 30-day
Right.
legal notice requirement. So when you finally decide, hey, we're good with the budget, we've made the changes we want, put it in the mail, the earliest the budget meeting can be is 30 days after that.
Okay, but we can still have a board meeting. We just
Oh,
can't have
yes.
a budget meeting.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about the approval of the budget meeting. There are some
So
restrictions that I'm.
right, so we need to get to you as soon as possible, our changes of the budget, so that you can mail it out 30 days before a budget meeting. The
Yes, sir.
budget meeting therefore cannot be before November 4th, because that would be the earliest 30 or 5th.
And there's absolutely
If we
no
told you
chance that I'm gonna get it in the mail tomorrow.
Right, but just
But
for-
you get the, yeah, that's the math.
So if we tell you on the 15th, then it goes to the 15th, basically.
Well, realize you should give me a little time, because once you tell me the changes, I've got to make the changes. I've got to put together the mailing, and realize it's not just the budget mailing. It's also first notice of your election notice, which
So,
happens in January. All that stuff goes together.
So-
But yeah, that's the rough estimate.
So again, because I want some kind of a deadline for the board, it's just as meeting
Yeah,
goes,
if you can get me an answer
Well-
next week, that would be wonderful.
we're gonna tentatively set this next board meeting, not budget meeting, for the 1st, okay? We might have another meeting in November. We probably will. Let's.
No. You need to meet
Oh,
well
no,
before the
it'll be
1st
30
for
days
your.
out. Be in December.
Your next board meeting needs to happen in October. You don't need to wait till the 1st, because remember, if you wait till the 1st to have a board meeting to decide what budget you want to mail,
Yeah, but you
I'm
just
never
said
going to
we
be able to
didn't
get it out before, I mean, the earliest I can get out is December 1st.
So David, I think we're speaking across each other. So
Okay.
we're gonna have a board meeting on the 1st, normal board meeting. We will get
Okay.
you our budget suggestion by maybe next Friday.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll have
That's
30 days
misunderstood.
from that following Monday or Tuesday, whenever you get it out. And then we'll have
Okay.
a budget meeting
I'll
scheduled
stop
for
talking.
that.
I was gonna say that we board will look it over this weekend.
That's
We
my
will,
goal.
we will most definitely communicate, if not over the weekend, the early part of the week. We will hammer out our side of it. You will have permission to mail by Friday, let's say. I will.
Perfect.
Guys,
Perfect.
we are still gonna set our next tentative meeting for the 1st at 4 o'clock. Nothing to do with your budget. We won't even talk about it. It'll be settled by. All right.
Sorry to be a pain in the ass. I spend so much time managing expectations that I just want to make sure that we're clear.
All right, shut up. Okay, anybody else want to ask any other questions or?
Rob, are you gonna Zoom that board meeting?
Am I gonna do what?
Are you gonna Zoom the board meeting?
All board meetings are Zoomed. It's the only way we can get together.
Okay, on the 1st at 4 o'clock,
1st at 4 o'clock.
I'll be there.
Okay. Hopefully we'll have good news at that time for everything else other than the budget. Maybe we'll have good news for that too. All right. Can I make the motion to adjourn?
It's 5:35.
Is that a second?
That's the second.
All right, Arnold?
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right.
I just want to
adjourned.
know if Diane got to England okay. I haven't heard from her.
All right, since that is not official business, I'll answer that question. As far as I know, she got to England fine. I heard they were delayed at JFK, had a couple cocktails at a bar for a few hours.
That was good.
I think she's good. I haven't heard otherwise.
Okay, she was gonna go pick the grandkids up today.
Good for her. She had to get out of Punta Gorda, that's for
You're
sure.
not kidding.
Okay. Board members, I'd like to thank you. David, thank you very much for everything up until
Thank you
now.
all.
tenants hang in there. We'll rebuild.